Little did I know, as I walked down this trail with Deb 48 years ago, that I would be cruising Still the One, my Sundancer 380, down the Tennessee River, south on the Tombigbee known as the Tin Tom, and southeast across the Gulf of Mexico to Tampa Bay. My desire is to document this trip, to share with my family, because they are still the one to me. And if you'd like to come along on my journey as well, I hope you will enjoy. So, what made y'all decide to do this? What was the inspiration?
Well, it was originally my idea.
Bella, don't tip your phone.
I was going through a divorce with my first wife. And,
Okay.
already, tried to live the American dream. We had a house, 2 houses. One we lived in, one we rented out, workshop and all that.
Right.
And, you go to bed one day and, your life's all planned out, and then you wake up and it's all over.
Yeah.
So, I just asked myself a basic question: what do I want to do?
Right.
Because I've already made somebody else's dream come true. So, after a few, after some short time, I was going through van life or off-grid living. I just knew I didn't want to pay bills every month all the time anymore.
Right.
I didn't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
And because you never get anywhere.
Right.
So no, I was on YouTube and I seen another adventure.
Right.
Seen her intro video, and that right then and there, I decided, I think I might want to live on a sailboat.
Yeah. So introduce your family to me.
So I'm Jason, and this is my wife Tabitha, our son Zachery, and our daughter Isabella.
Okay. And so, when did y'all meet?
Go ahead.
Years ago.
Okay.
We met when I was like 16,
Right.
and we went our separate ways when I was like 19, 20. So,
In what area of the country?
West Michigan,
Okay.
Allegan,
Yep.
Fenville, Holland area.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
And so you went through this divorce, and then you're ready to
Then I
do something different.
right. I was living in Missouri,
Right.
and I'm from Michigan.
Right.
So as soon as the divorce was finalized, I knew I was going back home. So before heading home, I talked to my family, my parents and all that, told them what my plans were. This is what I want to do, So we all moved back to Michigan, and I decided right then and there that I was going to do whatever I could to make sure that this happened.
Now, these are your children?
No.
Okay.
those are my babies.
Okay.
So went back home to Michigan. I got a job driving taxi. And about a year went by, and I was working for Allegan Taxi, and COVID just started up.
Okay.
And at the same time that COVID started, I seen her on Facebook. So I just sent her a message. I don't even remember what it said.
You just said hello, stranger.
Oh, I guess that's what I said. And she got back to me pretty quickly, and we were on the phone talking, and I was like, well, I'm gonna have some time off, and she's like, well, I don't want to quarantine by myself, and I was like, well, I'll come hang out with you. So I went down to Dowagiac, and we got reacquainted. Long story short on that, we 3 weeks went by, and was it 3 weeks?
6 weeks.
6 weeks went by, and we got engaged to get married.
Yep. Well, he asked me to marry him 6 weeks after we got together,
Yeah.
and it was all because I told him that I would sail the world with him. He thought he was going to scare me off, and I told him, when are we going? And
Yeah.
2 days later, he come and proposed to me.
Yeah.
So
So
So how many times have you considered that before he even presented it to you? Any time at all?
I actually thought about taking my kids and just
Sold.
doing the the van life or
Okay.
the RV life. Just
Yeah.
'cause I'm not one to sit still.
Mm-hmm.
I move every 2 years usually. And even if it's into a different house in the same town,
Mm-hmm.
I move. I don't like to sit still.
Yeah.
And this way I can take my home with me.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
it had been a thought for a little while, and then when he said, "I'm going to sail the world," it's, okay, when are we going? So
Yeah, so for those first 6 weeks, I was telling her all about, my plans, what I wanted to do, and everything else. Honestly, I was trying to scare her away. Mm-hmm. Every horror story, I can think of, every bad thing about, living on a boat and everything else. And by the time I ran out of stuff to say, she's like, "So when do we leave?" And I was like, "Well, we need a boat." So shortly after that, I asked her to marry me. And 6 weeks later, after I asked her, we got married.
Okay.
And then 6 weeks after we got married, we bought her boat.
Mm-hmm.
for her birthday,
Yep.
How did you find the boat?
Go ahead.
I found
You're
her
the
on
one.
Facebook.
Okay. Just tell us about your boat.
Oh, well, we were looking, and my sister was visiting. Her and her husband were visiting from Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
And we were just sitting there on the back porch, and I was like, "So when are we leaving?" And he says, "I don't know, when we find a boat." And he started looking. Well, I'm sitting there talking to my sister, and I'm looking.
Mm-hmm.
And he showed me one that was like completely gutted out, $1,000 on the trailer. And I'm like, "Well, where are you looking?" He says, "Craigslist." I was like, "Is that the only place?" And he says, "Yeah." Okay. And I started looking through Facebook, and I'm like, "How about this one?" She just jumped out the page at me and said, "Here I am."
So the boat is a 1978 O'Day, 25 foot. She has a fixed fin keel and taller rig.
Mm-hmm.
She came with, when we purchased her, she came with 9 sails. She was sitting in her slip. When we went and looked at it,
In the water.
In the
Yep.
water, in the
Okay.
slip, ready to go.
Okay.
And so, but it was, 2 days before my birthday, or the day before?
We paid for her on July 30th.
Yeah, it was 2 days before my 43rd birthday.
Okay.
This boat was sitting in slip number 43 for $4,300.
Okay.
So
That's pretty cool.
we looked over the boat, spent about 3-4 hours going over the boat. We kind of like did our own quick survey of the entire boat. I looked at the guy. I was like, "I can give you $4,000 cash right now," and he took it. So we sailed the boat for the remaining of that season.
With the motor or no motor?
It had a motor on it. It didn't have the motor. It's got on it now. But we sailed it for the remaining of that season and spent quite a bit of time on her and quickly figured out what we wanted to do with the boat. So we started looking for a trailer at the end of the season, and we picked up a trailer for $1,000.
Okay.
I put new lights, new tires, new tongue jack
Right.
on the trailer, and we went and picked up the boat and we brought it home. And for a year and a half, I got it out, all the wiring, all the plumbing, took the engine off, and
Okay.
for a year and a half we did a refit, rewired the entire boat, replumbed it all, and
And you did all this work yourself?
yes, yep.
Took the bottom right down to gel coat and started
Yep.
fresh.
So she's got all new bottom paint. She's got a barrier coat and then a few layers of anti-fouling on it. But yeah, but we ended up putting a sea head composting toilet inside the boat. So what it had was one of them camp style toilets. They had the reservoir.
Okay.
A lot of the older boats have those on there.
Right.
Well, so we got rid of that stinky thing and got a sea head composting toilet. And then I took out the sink and cabinet in the head. I removed all that out, and that's where I put in our washing machine for our clothes. And then wired that all in. It's all plumbed in. I ended up installing 2 TVs on board. We have a 54-quart refrigerator. We have a 4-burner propane cooktop that's on a drawer that slides out from underneath the countertop.
Okay.
So,
And then underneath that's like all pots and pans storage underneath
Right.
it.
yeah. So then it's got a hot water tank on board.
Right.
We
Cockpit shower.
cockpit shower, 45-gallon freshwater storage.
Okay.
I have, as for electrical, I have about 480 amp hours, a battery bank, 300 watts of solar, 400 watt wind turbine, 4,000 watt inverter.
And so, how long can you expect to get electricity with your needs before you're forced to say, I got to recharge or?
It's been about, what, 10, 14 days? About 2 weeks, we can go.
On the batteries without recharging them?
Yep.
And you're not
Well,
charging them at all on the
Just with
travel?
the solar and the
Yep.
wind turbine.
Okay.
Yep,
Yeah.
that keeps us right where we
And you can,
And
like
then,
to be. But we get cloudy days and rainy days, and
right.
and another thing that helps out that we have is we have the brand new Suzuki 9.9. And that has a 12 amp output. So when we run things like, say, the coffee pot or tea kettle or something like that, we just start the engine,
Yeah.
and then that reduces.
Generate your electricity that way.
Right, and
Yeah.
well, it's the way it is. It would never charge our battery bank,
Right.
but it helps by not, if we were to just make coffee without the engine running, that would draw that much more off the battery bank.
Right.
So to kind of offset that large power usage, we'll turn the motor on.
Do you have a microwave?
No.
Okay. They take a lot of juice.
Right. And then we also carry scuba gear, and we have our own dive compressor.
Okay.
And hands.
We basically have that for bottom maintenance of
Right.
the boat.
For hands.
So because we got two 1 liter kits, it gives us about 10 minutes worth of air. So it's good enough to clean the bottom, and get down there to that keel and do a good job on that.
And so even now you have to clean the bottom?
we haven't yet.
It's a little fuzzy with some algae growth.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
'Cause like we said,
The,
we've been in the water since May 16th.
The
And-
anti-fouling I have on the boat was primarily for
Salt
hard
water.
growth,
Right.
so salt water, brackish water,
Right.
and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
it's just now getting a little fuzzy after about 4.5 months, 5 months.
Yeah. I hear you. And that affects a sailing boat because,
Yeah, it's dragging the water.
right, yeah. Yeah.
You can definitely tell the difference in her with that. Even just a little bit of growth on it.
Now, how much have you learned about all this sailing since you met him?
A lot. A lot.
Did you know much of it before?
I knew nothing about sailing. I knew of other boats. Like, I've been around boats off and on my whole life. I've been on all different kinds of boats, but never a sailboat.
Yeah.
And I had always wanted to go on a sailboat. So when he asked me if I wanted to live out of a sailboat, it's like, well, yes. So, yeah. But yeah, I've learned a lot since just between him and the YouTube channels that we watch.
Right.
It's
Who's your favorite?
That's hard.
It's very hard because I've got a lot of them. I watch Good, Bad, and Ugly. I watch Uma, Bums on a Boat. They're right up there with my top number ones.
Bums on the Boat. I'm not
Yes.
familiar with him.
Oh my goodness, they're amazing.
We're actually had been communicating with them.
Yep.
They had sent us a postcard and everything else. But
Nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
we'll message
Micah
them
and Joel.
ask them questions, and they get back right with us.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So we hope to meet up with them one day.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah. Rigging doctors, I really love them. She loves their parrots. She wants to see the Charlie.
do you like the pizza?
Yeah.
That's spicy.
That's hot. You can't have hot sauce. Okay? But you need to wipe your mouth.
So I watch mostly Sailing into Freedom, Plucky,
We watch him.
and Parlay,
Yep. We watch.
and Delos,
Yep.
and
You're probably familiar with One Life then.
yeah,
Yep.
I'm not as much into them.
Yeah.
Zakara, the family.
Yeah, on the catamaran.
Oh yeah, I love to watch them. They've got good stuff.
Yeah, I watch them a lot because they got the teenagers on board.
Yeah.
So, it gives me a little bit of an idea of how to help him transition into being on the boat. And then the other ones, they have little ones on the boat, like, Delos and then La Vagabond.
The Vagabond are good.
Yep, I watch them a lot too. So,
Sailing Nanji.
yeah, Angie.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, there's quite a few of them that we watch. We have like 7
Oh, and of course,
channels that we watch.
Bobby and Selling Doodles.
Yeah, we
I
was
was-
watching him for a while. I don't.
And until his, because we
he
were
stopped
always,
having his own boat and started chartering boats.
well, and he's no longer on a sailboat either.
Yeah.
We was
He's
wa-
going back to it, I think.
Yeah, but we were into sailing. We wanted to know about sailing and stuff like that. So when his, he had that,
Dark Side or something like that.
yeah,
Dark
when he
Side.
had that catastrophic failure on his sailboat, where he had to like leave it and walk away from it,
Yeah.
we kind of quit watching him. I mean, a couple episodes would pop up, we'd check him out, but we haven't really been following him. I'm sure if he got back into sailing, we would probably watch him more often.
Yeah.
But
So what's your experience? I mean, what do you like about this sailing? What do you enjoy
I like
about
when
it?
I'm able to be a backup autopilot, but sometimes I'm actually able to drive the boat. When he goes like out Lake Michigan before we got the autopilot, I was driving the boat for about an hour and a half.
Yeah, to give me a break.
Yeah, I got kind of seasick, and
We tried out the first mate on the tiller, and then we tried out him, and
we're going like this.
he does pretty good. I actually started him in a higher sea state, about 3-foot sea state,
I
and
drive that well in the lower sea state.
yeah, at flat calm he's
flat.
all over the place, but you put him in a high sea state, he
it
drives
stays on a steady
straight.
track.
Wow.
So
Me, high sea state, I'm everywhere.
Low sea state.
Low sea state, I'm pretty good.
So tell everybody what's the difference between high sea state and low sea state.
well, in a higher sea state, you're constantly moving that tiller, counteracting with the waves. And then in the lower seas, and with the high sea state on a
What
sailboat,
would you consider high?
3 feet or more,
Okay.
On the size of boat we have.
yeah, with 25-foot sailboat,
Right.
3 feet starts to become a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But the worst sea state that we were ever in, I think. Would you agree when we brought the boat home on that last trip?
Yeah, that's the worst we've been in yet.
Yeah. We were sustaining 25 knot winds up there in Michigan
30-mile-an-hour
for
gusts.
4 days. Mm-hmm. And we were sitting in South Haven. Mm-hmm. Well, I had to get back to work. So I was just watching weather window. I took an extra day off of work, and it was about 1 o'clock in the morning. We started getting decreasing winds below 20 knots, and they were falling down to 15 knots. I was like, we're going to go. So in the channel, as we were headed out, I would have to say that the waves were like 8 to 9 feet in the channel.
Yeah.
And then when we entered out there and finally got on course, we were dealing with 6-foot waves.
Wow.
It was a 6-hour roller coaster you could not get off of.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was.
So
Get sick?
everybody got seasick that day. But like on a sailboat, like what you're not experienced with, is that with our sails up
Right.
on those higher sea states, those
Yeah.
sails actually provide us stability. So
Yeah.
instead of the boat like rocking back and forth
Yeah.
and heeling back all over the place,
Uh-huh.
the sails will actually provide stability where we just ride up and down on the waves,
Right.
Sit down, young lady.
And one will get seasick with a following wind,
Uh-huh.
and the other one gets seasick when we're have a headwind when we're sailing into windward.
Oh
Yeah.
my.
So
Do they eventually get used to it? after a while, or is it?
She's fine after, like, she'll throw up once or twice, and then she'll be fine for a while. And then if we get crazy sea states after that, then she'll start.
Right.
But he hasn't really thrown up. He just gets the real nauseous, and then he gets outside in the cockpit and or just lays down and goes to sleep, and he's good.
Right.
But we got seasick bracelets that we put on him, and then we also got Dramamine for kids that we give them.
Yeah.
So
Now, if we remember to give them that beforehand, it's a lot better.
yeah, then we don't have to worry about it at all.
Yeah, sure.
So,
But I have not been seasick yet.
Well, that's good.
oh my gosh, I got seasick for 2 days. It was crazy.
Yeah, I had to
First
get
time
her
I've
off
ever
the
been
boat.
seasick in my life.
Well, I was going to tell your son, and he's helping out here, about you taking them on this journey. I know they don't have a choice in the matter, but the things that you're going to see and experience, kids your age
We'll never see.
will never see. And you will take this experience and it will literally affect your life the rest of your life. It will, in a positive way.
I'll know more than usually kids know.
Oh yeah.
I'll be able to learn stuff that usually kids.
You'll
have
see
to
what
learn
they're
it.
learning in a book.
Yep. And he's going to live it firsthand.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So with like homeschooling, so
Yeah.
we teach our own kids.
Sure.
The things that we focus on the most is reading, writing, and math.
Yeah.
And then any interests that come up, we'll focus on that topic.
Right.
But for the majority of their education, it's going to be in the real world,
Absolutely.
you know.
Yeah. Which
So-
will be a phenomenal.
And we're showing them a different way to live. You know, it's not the typical, you know, you got to buy a house, buy a car, get up, go to work every day. We're showing them something different.
showing them
Yeah.
that they can live a normal life and be happy and satisfied with their lives and not have to kill themselves working for somebody else.
Right.
And be miserable.
So you're generating income somehow, right? I don't want to get too personal, but
well,
I'm sure people are wondering, how do you finance what you're doing?
We have a very
Sell your children at child labor from.
you know, we talked about that, but the problem is they know too much.
Exactly.
Yeah. Can't quite get away.
They have too much information. They'll find their way back home. But no, you know, we have a very small, very frugal
Sure.
fixed income.
Yeah,
That,
okay.
That we can rely on, but where we save a lot of the money was the effort that we put in, the investment that
course.
we put into our boat.
Yeah.
You know, and the planning, the forethought and the planning of, you know, like with the engine that we have, like I was telling you earlier, we only burn about 2.5, 3 gallons a day,
Right.
you know, and then we carry 30 gallons, and we try to avoid the high gas price pump at the fuel dock pumps.
Fuel is actually in the boat or through cans?
We have 2
Fuel
fuel cells.
Cells? Okay. And
And-
so it's fed directly
Yeah.
right into, okay.
Yep. So, yeah, 2 fuel cells, and then we carry 4 jerry cans.
Okay.
So we carry about 30 gallons.
So you could go a long ways.
About, well, we figure about 300 miles.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
flat.
Do you
car.
ever think that you're going to cross, do a passing? Do you ever, are you going to do something like that?
We're looking for those crossings.
Yeah. Yeah.
Originally, when we first started planning it, we was talking about crossing from Mobile to Tampa.
Yeah.
Doing, you know, a straight
Yeah,
shot
yeah, yeah.
straight across.
That
Which
would be a first good test.
Right. So
Yeah.
that would take us, you know, that's about 500 miles. So that would take us about 5 days.
Yeah.
You know, because doing 5 knots, 24 hours a day, you can get about 100 miles or 20 miles. So yeah.
Yeah. That's definitely, they're talking about 2 weeks, 3-week crossings along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we upgrade to a bigger boat, that's what we will do. But in the meantime, we can only cross. She's built for 75 miles offshore.
Right.
So,
Well, where you're going, the Gulf has got tons of sailboats.
Yeah.
So you may find another sweet deal that you can.
well, we bought
Get
this
into.
one for the purpose of the Great Loop. Well, we bought her pretty much to live on her, but
Yeah.
you know, we had planned already that we were going to be going to the Gulf and then back up for the seasons. So, and then we heard of the Great Loop.
Yeah.
So there it was. I found out about this America's Great Loop, and I was like, I want them flags.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
the first one's flying on my boat.
But yeah, she's a coastal cruiser. She doesn't have a real high comfort rating,
Right.
you know. So and with the provisions that we carry, the amount of water we carry and stuff like that, you know, we can only really be away from shore for like a week,
Yeah.
you know. So that eliminates any ocean crossing going, you know, crossing the Atlantic or the
Right.
Pacific or anything like
Right.
that. We would need a much bigger boat for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you sharing with us. Thank you again. Appreciate it.